There are three Biddle relatives who are closely involved in early American governing bodies. You have Edward Biddle, who is a member of the First and Second Continental Congress. His brother, James, is a member of the Committee of Safety, which is tasked with establishing and planning the defenses of Philadelphia. And then their first cousin, Owen Biddle, is also a member of the Committee of Safety. Edward, James, Owen, they're sort of working behind the scenes. And it's actually from their relative Clement, who talks about just wanting to do something that is useful and necessary. And I think that is a real apt description of what they were doing. Edward's responsibilities really rest with his work with the Continental Congress.
The First Continental Congress met at Carpenters Hall in September and October of 1774. The main significance of the first meeting is that delegates agreed to form something called the Continental Association. And they signed a document called the Articles of Association, which banded the colonies together to a set of actions. This union that the colonies agreed to establish here guided them through the Revolution, and it was really an attempt to kind of catalog everything that, from the point of view of the colonists, England had done wrong to make them angry. Edward Biddle was definitely more on the radical side of the Pennsylvania delegation. Those were the folks who were pushing for getting these grievances addressed, right? And asserting their rights.
That's representative of a larger collaboration that you see between this generation of family members. Whether they're in the Navy, the Army, or doing other types of work, they are collaborating around this shared vision of American independence. James and Owen together are on a range of at least 9 various subcommittees, all focused on different tasks and responsibilities for preparing the city of Philadelphia and the riverways and areas around Philadelphia for the inevitable attacks of the British Army.
The Committee of Safety essentially functions like Pennsylvania's Defense Department. Their committee and various subcommittees will all be responsible for technological innovations, placement of fortifications, acquisition of materials, ammunition, supplies, clothing. All of these things fall on them. They're also the ones responsible for leading the charge in defending the river. The Delaware River is very complex to navigate. It has a lot of shifting sandbars. It has a lot of tidal currents. It is a very tricky river to defend. There are plenty of examples throughout history of blocking waterways, of running chains or sinking ships in the way of other ships. But the chevaux-de-frise are a truly American invention. No one to this point had developed a piece of technology for the specific purposes of blocking and spearing enemy ships like this. This is something that was developed by Americans for the defense of America. Inside each of these boxes are 3 or sometimes 4 large spears. These are just tree trunks with a giant iron tip nailed to the end of it. These are then floated into position and chained together, and then sunk to the bottom of the Delaware River with their spears facing downriver, so any shipping coming up the river would have their bottoms ripped out by the spears. Owen Biddle is not only on the Committee of Safety, but is tasked with the further development of the chevaux-de-frise. These are, in some cases, the size of a 2-story house, and the Americans will make over 60 of these. So the chevaux act as a very effective deterrent to ships coming up the river. It's important to note that in terms of the British moving up the river, it is a very urgent thing for them. They've captured Philadelphia, but all of their food is on the ships. So they now have a desperate window about 2 months before the Delaware River freezes so they can get their ships and food and supplies into Philadelphia. And it gets bad. The British Army was just now an army without food, clothing, ammunition, or money. The chevaux-de-frise significantly slowed down the British Navy's attempt to supply the army in Philadelphia. That delaying is incredibly valuable for the Americans. It will buy valuable time for Washington to get the army moving to Valley Forge and set up at that very advantageous position, which will help deny the British supplies for the winter and will help train the Continental Army. And it also helps highlight the debacle of the occupation of Philadelphia.
Without that behind-the-scenes planning that Edward and Owen and James were all part of, the consequences for Philadelphia leading up to the British occupation could have been very different.